First, I would like to show you a video that this year for CES is the Consumer Electronics Shows in Vegas, starts January every year. There where with the big guys show all the big things. So whatever you kind of not see on the pipeline, it's not going to be there in a couple of years. So first, let me talk as a geek like the lady over there. If there's one thing about the holy grail of 3D, that's holograms. Glasses, not glasses, that is nothing to do with 3D. So let's not discuss glasses, because glasses is not a business, it's about content, but the holy grail is holograms. You know, things Star Wars, things, the little things you see myself moving around, that's 3D. So technology is great, we do technology, and we'll see a lot of other applications for it. So first, what I was telling you about CES, I was asked to do a framing of what 3D encompasses. And I kind of tried to explain that. Sound, please.
About how we as a society can use 3D, we might be inclined to think we do. That's what our brain prefers to do. But seriously, at this panel called The Big Picture, I really want to tell you about the bigger picture. I want to tell you about how we, in Expand, look at 3D, not just as a technology, but as a human capability, and put it out of the box. Improvement in content production, like 120 FPS recording cameras, improvement in rendering, auto stereoscopy, 4K, 8K, laser projections, OLEDs, curved screens, holograms. This is all still thinking very much in the box. This might be better off as a semi-confidential secret, but at Expand, we are lucky to be a bunch of eccentrics. When there's a straight line, we run right through it, jump over it, and push its boundaries. So when you say 3D, we don't just think of 3D cinema, or watching 3D TV at home, or playing a 3D video game. We do not think of 3D glasses, and we do not think of auto stereoscopy. These are technologies, and 3D is not a technology. It's a concept. That's how we are thinking about it. And when we talk 3D, we think of the brain. I mean, what would be the high-tech equivalent of millions of years of evolution that resulted in the brain's capacity to keep the lights on each time we blink, so that our world doesn't go dark approximately 20,000 times a day? Now that's a bigger picture. In Expand, we do love entertainment. It's the shortest way to at least a temporary feeling of happiness. It's the shortest way to jolt the brain into content buzzing, idea making, and emotional fulfillment. But there's more to 3D than entertainment. We think education. We think students, from elementary to university, as well as professional training, military simulations, training of surgeons, simulations of complicated surgeries. When we look at the bigger picture, we do not only see education and professional training. Our people at Expand have come up with the most amazing ideas, with running left and right of the line. This year, we will see the first medical device that is based on the same technology that brings magic into 3D cinema. Expand Amblitz is as simple as using glasses, like a device for children with amblyopia. 3 to 5% of kids suffer from it. You've never heard of amblyopia? That's okay. I'm sure you've heard much more about ADHD. Again, with technology that made Avatar such an amazing cinema experience, we are able to treat ADHD. Simple, uninvasive, no side effects, and out of the box. And so, we continue to ask questions. Can we help prefrontal cortex? This center of human morale, empathy, and creativity to expand? And can we come up with a solution to its tendency to penetrate very fast? Can we help improve workplace productivity by using technologies that bring us 3D? On an even more fantastical note, can we, by stimulation of nerves, break the blood-brain barrier? Can we stimulate the brain to produce effective neural connections? Can we help it wrinkle up and make us smarter? I'm not saying we can, but we can open the door towards challenging the brain and asking deeper questions, so we don't just know the big picture vision of 3D or its potential. Yes, 3D in entertainment and cinema will stay, but we will continue to explore the capacity of the brain in our 3D world to advance into a more exciting and immersive reality.
So if you want to, just before we go to the presentation, if we want to discuss about cool stuff out there is Google Glass. Cool stuff out there is a curve screen, OLEDs, things that would really revolutionize the way we see 2D, 3D, whatever format it is, our houses, handheld devices. These are the things that will make a change. All the rest are little steps, very important steps, but they're little steps that will lead us to the right place to be. Ami, let's go. So I'll just do the beginning of this presentation, and then we'll move into a lot of the questions that we made here, and I'll get the help from, Lisa and Ben, all the people that actually have a much more interesting opinion on these matters than myself. This is a question I get all the time on these conferences. 3D is absolutely dead. So now that they've told me that, how do I defend myself about, or not defend myself about, is 3D dead or not? As I said, we opened again Cannes with a 3D movie, so obviously it's not that. If it wouldn't be a dragging factor, we would not be doing it. Bollywood is releasing more 3D movies than anything else. My marketing director specifically chose Kama Sutra 3D, not because of its value, but it's a beautiful movie that is being shot that has nothing to do with the porn industry, but with the amazingness of what Bollywood generates. Bollywood is the greatest industry in terms of media in the world. Those actors make more money than any director in Hollywood. They shoot 10, 15 movies a year, each of these prime actors. That's, people sell their own blood to go and watch the movies. This is the industry that we would like to be at. What appeared almost science fiction only a few years ago is happening in 2013. There is almost every week one 3D movie being released worldwide. Most of the multiplexes now have 2 to 3 screens in 3D. So the theatrical aspect is covered. The TV aspect is covered. In Asia, mainly Japan and Korea, all TVs are 3D ready or 3D enabled since last year, 100%. In the United States, as Jim mentioned, is the country with actually the lowest penetration of 3D televisions. By next year, already this year, 50% of the EU televisions are 3D ready, and by next year, they count on 70 to 80% of 3Ds being ready. More importantly, the fact that it can be enabled by simple hardware and Blu-ray players or PlayStations that can lead into having the content at home. So there's a lot of statistics here. From whomever wants it, I can pass the information along. It's really a very long statistical information data. But the objective of this is to say there are many television channels being opened every day, as Jim was saying about putting 3D content out there. But then I want to make a stop there because that's important for you. I think we suffered from a problem in the beginning of thinking that 3D is only about 3D. We do not need to have dedicated channels for 3D because nothing has to be just color, nothing has to be just black and white, nothing has to be just 3D. You can have a normal 2D channel that prime content, they do it in 3D, or the documentaries, or just the cartoons for the kids. And this is the misconception that was in the beginning, that we should all go 3D. 3D is great, but not everything needs to be shot in 3D. Like nothing always has to be shot with sound. It's an artistic message that we're using. So that's a very important part. When it comes to the 3D message, and that's from a research we did with TI in a lot of countries from the educational perspective, there's a research proved us that if you watch a content in 2D, you have a 9% retention. If you watch it in 3D, you have a 31% retention. Think of the power of this for advertising or to passing a message. This is something that the advertisers are taking the time to see because we have not been able to show, because we were not creating the right message and the right content to pass it along. But just think on the difference of the impact of the content retention of what we're saying here. You already at the medical? Yes, I don't care about that.
Six when you were talking.
Oh, okay, yeah, you can pass on. There are multiple applications for 3D. So what I started by saying, it's not about the glasses, it's not about autostereoscopics, it's about the YouTubes that we've heard before. It is about the Google Glass, which we have a base patent for, so that's really cool stuff. It's about handheld device. But someone that tells you, PS3 lenticular autostereoscopic device, because it was too soon, it was not the quality that should have been, so we've killed again one thing that should have been great in terms of video gaming and in personal devices for showing 3D. It's not about technology. Do not worry about technology. Technology will get there. It's about the cool message. So going back to your question about, is the conversion ready? No, problem is not the conversion. The softwares are great and the technology is great, but technology serves a purpose. 3D is a different way of telling a story, and Ben can tell you all about that. So it's not that the conversion is bad, but the thing was designed, it's like when you're painting a picture, the thing was designed for 2D. And I always give an example because it's one of the few initial movies, and it was not a big thing or anything, but it's a clear message. When you're shooting in 2D, if you're brushing your teeth, a typical scene on the movies, you'd shoot it from above down, because that's a typical scene when you're, if you're doing like this. If you have the power of 3D, a very useful tool will be shooting that from below. Gives a totally different perspective. Of course, if you're doing it 2D, it passes nothing of the message. But if you're doing it in 3D, entirely changes the story. For the ones of you who get Gatsby, passing through a garden, it's entirely, or the jungle, it's entirely different situation if you're doing it in 2D or 3D. So it's not about the technology. The technology is there to serve how to write a story. So the conversion is great, the technologies are great. These are huge companies that can develop literally whatever you want. Because if James Cameron calls Sony and say, I want this, or Panasonic, it will happen. Or us. It's not about that, but it's about what you're going to display on it. I'll go to Google Glass because I really like the topic. Handle devices, and that links to YouTube and all of these things. This is the future. IPTV is the future, video on demand. LG, Samsung. 85% of Korean Japan is based, the way people consume media is based on video on demand, is based on IPTV. They stream into their computers. Most of my friends, they do not own a TV. They watch everything on their computers. They have great computers, but they do it on their computer. They choose when they want to watch something, at what time, what kind of content. That doesn't mean they still don't watch the same HBO programs. They just consume it in a different format. So now think about all the technology from the army, think about all the technology from the handheld devices, think everything about a smartphone, put into your eyes that you can do everything at the same time. Block the sun, watch the media when you want to watch it, and answer your phone call. This goes back to this short. That's why TV became much stronger than the movies, the good cable channels, is because the information, we have attention deficits, ADHD. Since we have attention deficits, we need short messages that are powerful and that keep our attention to. It's easier to sell to advertisers. It's easier to go on TV. It's easier to go on YouTube. YouTube has proposed this year 200 million on the market for people like you to shoot content, 200 million. It's a lot of money for 10 minutes movies. I'm not saying that we should all move into 10 minutes movies. I'm just saying that there's different windows of distribution that were not considered in the past. And that has nothing to do with technology. Technology is here to serve as a mean to an end. It's about understanding the different formats of distribution. So I do agree, you need to go bottom up. But theatrical distribution is just one amazing thing for very big movies. But it's not what really is making the money. We're not Bollywood. I wish we were, but we are not. And there is 500,000 3D screens out there, but that's not what's going to make the difference. The difference is going to make when we're going to get all the broadcasters, because there's enough content to mix 2D and 3D throughout the daily channels. It manages when, you can already watch in YouTube in 3D. You just have to have the right devices. But we need to keep on start selling. First, we talk active and passive, and I could give you a lot of tech explanations about these things, but have absolutely no relevance. If I don't want to explain to my mother and what kind of glasses she's putting to watch 3D, we created a mess on the market. And now we're talking about, because what's going to solve everything is autostereoscopics, and then what is going to solve everything? Nothing. It's technology is just technology. Sometimes it's simple, sometimes it's complicated, but it's just technology. Just get over it. Stop talking about cameras and stop talking about handheld devices. Let us worry about that. Think about how cool your content is going to look like. Think about internet. Internet's what matters. IPTV, video on demand. Then, the studios are the studios. They will do their way, but they're dinosaurs. They will keep on using one formula that works. It's not your formula. If you want to make money, that's not your formula, because you can't compete. You don't have those marketing funds. You don't have those. It's a different game. But there is a much more interesting game. There is a TV game that can also touch the theatrical screens afterwards. There is the handheld devices. There is YouTube. Again, I totally agree with Jason. YouTube. That's the word you gotta hear, because that's how people consume content these days. Our target market in 3D, which is what makes money, it's a young population. They don't care. Listen, people talk a lot about TVs. We license to Sony, Samsung, Panasonic, JVC, all of these big guys. And people keep on talking about, I've just heard from one of my panelists, you can buy a 3D television for 300 euros, dollars, pounds, whatever you want to go. How freaking good do you think can be a TV that costs $300? What kind of color resolution do you think you can have? I'm not saying it's not possible. People have to realize it's okay. It's a product. It's a product that actually displays 3D, but you cannot compare that to a curved OLED that is going to cost you 10,000. But it's not about that. People change PCs every year and a half. Statistics worldwide. Every year and a half, you change your laptop. Your laptop costs, in average, $700 to $1,000. If you are actually a user, a proper user, that goes to $1,500. So how are we consuming our technology? We are consuming our technology by the PCs. So I'm just going with the same message that everyone else. Change the way you think about movie distribution. Movie distribution has changed. Digital enabled that. Internet has enabled the different channels of distribution. So move away from whatever you've ever learned in school about distribution and open your mind. That's where you're going to make the money. You know, the Red Bull competitions, anything that's advertising based, anything that's IPTV based, that's where it's going to be. As we said, you've seen all the money that Samsung and LG is putting out there for it. These are the players that will make the change in the market.